All right, guys, welcome. It's another weekend and another time for us to talk about happenings around the world of sports, specifically football. And as usual, I'm not alone. I'm here with John Binho. We'll be having a great time here on the Stay at Home Pod to talk about some really interesting things that have gone down this week. Starting with the game that went down yesterday night where Chelsea took on West Ham, and it was a splendid game for the Blues from start to finish. So, John, welcome. And Chelsea fans woke up really happy and excited this morning. How does it feel to defeat West Ham and Graham Potter by 5 goals to 1? What a game!
Yeah, yeah, it feels good. It's good to be here. Welcome to the Stay at Home Coaches Board. And that game yesterday was actually a wonderful game, interesting. I'm happy, really happy because one of my worst times as a Chelsea player was under Graham. I hated the fact that after every game that Chelsea lost or performed poorly, he'll come in and he'll be like, the team is getting there. I was like, this is such a mentality of a coach that wants to relegate this team. I'm glad we got rid of him when we did, and I'm glad that we punished him as well for his sins in the past.
Yeah, so let's talk about the game. From start to finish, it started quite poorly for Chelsea. The main man himself, Cole Palmer, got injured. Estevão had to start. Paqueta scored a lovely goal, an outrageous goal from about 25 meters. How did you see the start of the game, and did you think at some point Chelsea would turn it around?
So it's the thing about football, and when you're watching and play, and when you're watching or when a big team is playing against a team that is kind of struggling to an extent, right? It's very hard for you to see big teams unless they are not on form. It's very hard for you to see them putting in terrible performances in front of goal, multiple games. Chelsea are world champions. The confidence level is high. They played against Palace, and although attacking wise, they weren't able to bring in the goods. You could see how solid they were in defense. So first of all, conceding the goal against West Ham in that manner was more or less like a shocker. But at the same time, it was a wake-up call. If you concede a late goal, if that goal had been scored maybe in 80 something minutes, it would have been hard for Chelsea because everyone would have been shocked. Oh, we've played 0-0 all game, similar to Palace. And all of a sudden, we're conceding to Paqueta in maybe the 85th or the 89th minute. And at that point, West Ham can rally together and try to grind away. But they scored in the 6th minute, which meant that Chelsea players didn't panic much because it's not like 6 minutes. These are the guys that Sunderland scored three against. So let's just settle down and play our game. And going to Parma, getting injured, it was a worry, right? But by the time the game had started and the commentators gave the reason why, he felt a nudge. He just felt something and decided not to risk it. This is not a big game, where you would say, if Parma doesn't play, it's going to be a problem for the rest of the team. So you don't want to risk such a thing, especially with the games that are coming in thick and fast before the international break. So Estevão coming in natural, very easy. So it meant that Pedro Neto would just move over to the other side, right? And then Palmer who was supposed to play behind maybe the attacker, for example, João Pedro just took over from that because some people were thinking João Pedro would come in from the left. So Delap was there. His hold-up play was important for the team. And then now Estevão playing has now given Maresca a reason to see that, so now I can actually rest Palmer against certain teams and expect to get a result. Then if those results don't come in, then maybe I can bring in Palmer from the bench. You know how some circumstances will help you as a coach to now see that, this risk that I was scared of taking, because it shouldn't have been sensible for Palmer not to have played yesterday, right? If he were fit. People will have been like, is this coach all right? Why are you playing Estevão, João Pedro, and Puto, and not starting Palmer? But now people can see that, okay, if we're playing against teams that are not much of a threat, then just maybe, we can rest Palmer. And don't forget that Chelsea are still trying to get Garnacho. They're still trying to get Javi Simons. Garnacho is more of depth on the right wing, sorry, the left wing side, right? Meanwhile, Simons is more of depth on the attacking midfield slash right left wing as well, even right wing to an extent, just across the attacking line. So basically, a Palmer depth for Palmer, a Palmer similar player to Palmer in terms of creativity and all. So you could also take in the Enzo role as well, if necessary, just the way Santos can play the Enzo role and can also play the Caicedo role and his own role too. So it's just looking at a lot of circumstances and giving Enzo Maresca a lot of options. So bringing in these two players also gives him extra options. But for West Ham have been poor, has to be said. West Ham have been dead poor. Graham Potter, I think since he was exposed at Chelsea, I told someone that job was too big for him. He should have remained at a place where the pressure wasn't too much, where he finish mid-table and everybody's hailing him as the manager of the season simply because he finished mid-table. I know he came to Chelsea when he wasn't supposed to come. It wasn't. That's not his kind of club. So now going back to West Ham, where they've also tasted success. Moyes gave them the UEFA Conference League, and small teams sometimes can get really, really, what do they call that now? Greedy. They have a taste of success, and you've seen them acting like they've always been very successful. When they sacked Moyes, I told my guy, I said, these guys are going to regret this sacking. They got too comfortable and felt like everybody because they got success, and that means they'll keep getting success. Said they will keep hiring managers that will be causing trouble for them. They brought Lopetegui, and now they've brought in Graham Potter, and they really don't even know where they are. And there's this thing that is probably about to make that same mistake as well, which is Nottingham Forest. They had one of the best defense, if not the best defense last season, right? And there are rumors that they want to sack Nuno Espirito Santo. Do you get? And there was a rumor I saw yesterday that Ange Postecoglou also could come in. You know what that meant? You want to hand over one of the best defenses of last Premier League season to Ange Postecoglou. You know how they say, body go tell you. There's no need for us to overtalk. We just allow you watch, and then when you've gotten to a particular stage and you realize that, oh, why did I sack this person? Then you understand why a lot of lower tier teams stick to their managers who play in a certain way. You remember how Burnley got too comfortable and felt like they could do better than Sean Dyche. And look at how many years it took them to recover. Even when they came to the Premier League, they went back very quickly. And look at how long it took them to recover. Now they are back in the Premier League. Let's see how long they can stay for.
Yeah, so teams we need to always look at the manager and get managers who do the job. But then West Ham's issues, in my opinion, is even beyond the manager. The team is quite poor. Let's start from the goalkeeper Jimenez, the one they signed from Leicester for about £20 million. I mean, he was fine for Leicester, but he had a poor game. He had some very atrocious periods in that game. Not able to hold the ball really well, especially from corner kicks, and even their defending was horrible. I can't remember the last time Chelsea scored more than one goal from a corner kick, but it happened more than once in the game. West Ham defense with Algred and what's his name again, Todibo, was quite poor. The only person who I feel had a decent game was Diouf, who played left wing back. A decent game. In midfield, it's not a good midfield. Suchek is not the same Suchek we knew about 2 seasons ago. James Ward-Prowse, yes, he has his moments, free kicks, corner kicks, and that's all. Paqueta, who actually scored a very good goal, can have his moments, had an okay game. Bowen, who's their best player, can turn up at the right time for West Ham from time to time. But besides that, every other thing was really bad. I think as a whole, as a group, they are very poor. But individually, they have one or two players who can turn up. They sold their star player Kudus, and they've not really replaced him. So West Ham is a very poor team. So no matter the manager you give this team to, they will still struggle, and that's my point. They will struggle because the team is very bad. Up front, they started with Nicolas Fulkrug, who was really bad. He had a bad game. Besides the goal he scored out offside, nothing else, that West Ham could do. So the fans are annoyed with the board for not signing good players, and then they have Porter, who just cannot manage these players. So some coaches can manage poor players and turn them into something good, but it looks like he can't manage what is available because they're really not so good. So West Ham really have a lot of work to do. The games coming after Chelsea would be difficult. Tottenham, they have Nottingham Forest, all coming within the next 3 games. So it will be tough for them if they don't stand their foot very well before the September international break. Who knows? The coach will be most likely sacked because that's what I think would happen next if something is not done soon, especially within the transfer window period available. But just to round off on talking about Chelsea, man of the match for me was João Pedro. I feel he's gradually shown that he's a fine player that Chelsea really had an eye for, and Chelsea basically picked him. And that's a good advantage of buying players who are Premier League proven. A player that's been in the Premier League already, understands the league, and he's just seamlessly joined the Chelsea team and is doing really well. And that's why I feel a team like Manchester United will do well because their front line has Premier League proven players. Cunha, in Boemo. Sesko is not primarily proven, but he would turn up. So Chelsea would benefit from having these kind of players in the team. And the depth in Chelsea is just fantastic. I mean, you take out Estevão, you see have Palmer who could come in, you have Jamie Gittins, we're hearing Garnacho, we're hearing Xavi Simons. They are still good players who can turn up from time to time for the Blues. But then Chelsea will need to still work on the defense because I feel we still need maybe an extra experienced hand to help Chelsea going forward. So it was an all-round fantastic game for the Blues. I feel the team is gradually gelling. They're getting to that point where everyone will see them and say they are contenders. So rounding off from Chelsea, do you think that this team can even win the league with what's available now, or should Chelsea still reinforce?
So if we're talking about what's available, I see Chelsea uh, um, finishing in the top three. Now, I don't want to go as far as saying winning the league. The reason is because I want the transfer window to finish. I want to see the signings that they are going to make. I want to see the players who are going to leave. So if they can add one more centre back, if they can bring in Xavi Simons, if they can bring in what is it called, Alejandro Garnacho, then just maybe we might start talking about that, right? And if they can avoid injury, you know how one injury can alter your season. Two injuries, could just put a dent in your challenge or something. So let's see how that goes. I don't want to go too far until after the transfer.
All right, so let's talk about another game, this time in the Bundesliga. The champions, Bayern Munich, defeated RB Leipzig by 6 goals to nil last night. Fantastic game from start to finish. They were you know, just good, too good. In fact, the way they started the season, then you know that they will win the season really well. I mean, Harry Kane once more hat trick. This young man, Michael Olise, once more showed he's so important to the team. And then, Lucho, the player from Liverpool who just moved to, what's his name again? Luis Díaz, turned up really well, scored once more. He scored in the last 2 games for Bayern Munich. So what's your take on how Bayern have started the season once more on fire?
Yeah, it's the Bundesliga, and I'm not really surprised, not particularly surprised. I think the only thing I'm surprised about is the scoreline by which they defeated Leipzig. Because Leipzig, if there were teams who take the fight to Bayern Munich in games, at least in Germany, they are one of those teams. Them Hoffenheim, Dortmund to an extent. So losing 6-0 is more or less like a warning to all the Michael Olise, where he left off last season is where he has picked up as well. They're already putting behind the disappointing Club World Cup campaign, behind them. Because the game against PSG, they actually took the game to PSG, but unlike Chelsea, they weren't able to take their chances in that particular game, and PSG punished them towards the end of the game to take away the game from them. And so, but right now, I think they're starting the season well, which helps them to, if they are able to consolidate their plays or puts a bit of fear in the hearts of some of these teams in Bundesliga, then it means that when they start playing Champions League, when the Champions League group stage comes, it means that they'll be able to know how to divide and conquer, right? They'll know that, okay, if we're playing this game, because we are almost certain that we're going to win this match, then it means that, okay, we could rest this person so that by Tuesday or Wednesday, when we're playing the Champions League, this person plays and things like that. So, yeah, Bayern Munich was expected. Nothing much to say about that, but fine performance. So,
Yeah, so they started the season really well, and it's quite impressive to see how company would continue to grow this team. Some of their players left, the likes of Leroy Sané, but then they still seem to have fine quality that'll help them even do very well in the Champions League. Now let's quickly talk about 1 or 2 games that are key games in my opinion this weekend, and then we can talk about the Arsenal. This weekend, Man City is taking on Tottenham. Remember, both sides started the season really well. Man City defeated Wolves, and then for Tottenham Hotspur, they showed that they seem to watch out with how well they played in their first game of the Premier League season. So, what's your take on this game? A game that would see two very fine coaches meet. Thomas Frank, the new manager of Tottenham Hotspur, seemed to have the players he wants. I mean, Eze decided not to go to Tottenham. We'll still talk about that. But Richarlison has started the season really well. Kudus has started well. For Man City, Oscar Bob, Tijani Rangers have been fantastic in midfield, and Erling Haaland is still Erling Haaland. So, what's your take on this game, and who do you think will take it at the end of the day? Would it end in a draw or a win for which team?
so it's interesting, right? Tottenham have been a thorn in the flesh of Manchester City. for the past couple of games now. It's been a thing where no matter how badly Tottenham play when they play against Manchester City or the Manchester clubs in general, they tend to wake up. I don't know what it is that they put in their water before that particular game. So this is going to be a tough encounter, considering the fact that Thomas Frank is also a wonderful coach from Brentford, stabilizing the ship over there and then going over to Tottenham Hotspur. Yes, City have a point to prove. Last season wasn't the best of seasons in the history of Pep Guardiola, and he knows that he has to prove that he hasn't lost his spice, he hasn't lost his sauce, he hasn't lost his juice. So it's going to be an interesting one. His players have started the season in fine form, especially Tijani Reinders and Braut Haaland. He still has Mamouche, to unleash as well. So let's see what's going to happen against Spurs, who are firing. And considering Spurs have a player who, when it comes to the World Cup year, he tends to, wake up from whatever slumber he's been slumbering for the seasons prior to that. That's Richarlison. He started well. He scored in the first game of the season. He scored arguably the goal of the season already, right? And now he's coming off that confidence, knowing that if he performs well this season, he's going to be a starter for Brazil. So let's just see how that goes. Let's see how they will perform. It's a close one to call, but I want to tilt towards Manchester City. But let's just say it could end in a draw.
And then Manchester United are taking on Fulham, right? And that will be an interesting one. Manchester United actually performed quite well against Arsenal last weekend. In fact, they shocked a lot of us. I mean, they played so well, had their chances, didn't take them, but then you see that they are improving. They are growing from strength to strength. For Fulham, they drew in the first game they played last week, and Fulham is one of those boogie teams. They are not going to be relegated, but they can spoil the party for different teams. So it looks like a game that would show just how well the likes of Cunha and Mbemo would perform because against a Fulham side, I feel they should be able to turn up and, if possible, have the first win of the season. I saw a stat earlier today that shows that at this point, Ruben Amorim has played more games than the number of games he has won, and that is a bad record. So Ruben Amorim needs to take this kind of games to show that he's a manager for the next level for Manchester United. But what's your thought on the game and how do you think it will turn out?
Yeah, so United not particularly on form, playing against a team that was a thorn in their flesh last season, right? And Fulham can be a tough nut to crack. There was that game against Chelsea that required Tyreek George and Pedro Neto to save Chelsea towards the end. And this time around, Manchester United, who didn't do well against Fulham last season, let's see if Fulham will continue to be a thorn in their flesh. But like you said, Amorim won't be having too many excuses anymore. The excuses are running out. These are the kinds of games that you're expected to win. If you can't win against the likes of Fulham, then it means that you're going to have a problem facing tougher teams than Fulham, right? Fulham are not one of the best teams in the league. So if you're going to be struggling against Fulham at this point of the season, while are they, right? And your fans should start worrying because you said you wanted players. You've been given some of the players that you want, which means that you need to show that you're going to use these players properly before you can demand for more players. Because that's just how football works, right? You don't want to keep demanding and demanding, and they're giving you players, but your players are not performing. And like you stated, Mbemo and Cunha are Premier League ready players. Tested, they're battle tested. They've played in the Premier League for years now, and they have that experience. Let's see if that can translate into good form for Manchester United. This game against Fulham goes a long way to show how ready Manchester United are this season.
Yeah, so this game would prove a lot. I know they're still having an issue with the goalkeeping scene, Bayern or Onana. In fact, Manchester United are about to sign a Belgian goalkeeper. The name just skips the name of that goalkeeper. So they still have some issues whether they should recall Onana or play with Bayern, but I'm sure they'll make a decision. These decisions will determine just how well they perform this season. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, Arsenal. That's our key topic for today. The question is, can Arsenal win the league with the signings they've been able to bring in? I mean, at this point, the coach Arteta has spent more money than Pep Guardiola, and Pep has won a lot, right? So there's this question that Arsenal fans are asking, Premier League fans are asking, if Arteta doesn't win the league this season, after all these signings, after spending a lot of money, after being second, winning the second trophy If they don't win the league this season, should he leave the team? Should he be sacked? Do you think they can win this league with the kind of players they've gotten? Are these players enough for them to scale the hurdle from second to first in the league? What's your take, John Binho? Let's hear you.
All right. So looking at the players, Arsenal have got one of the best set of players in the league currently, right? They already had a very good team over the years. They have the best defense in the league. But the problem has always been mentality crossing over the line. And as a big team, if you don't know how to cross over the line, you're going to suffer. And by suffer, I mean that no matter who you, if you still don't work on the mentality, you'll suffer. Arsenal, after Arsene Wenger did the invincible, they haven't won the league. So the last time Arsenal won the league was in 2004. This year makes it 21 years. We all know 21-year-olds around us and how old they are already. And Arsenal fans continue to make excuse. We're playing beautiful football. That was the excuse then. You know, from secondary school, when we're in uni, we had Arsenal fans telling us, hey, we play beautiful football. And I'm like, it's a beautiful football that you will eat, right? Now, they have Arteta, who doesn't particularly play beautiful football. He's more of a pragmatic manager, which was what they used to insult Chelsea for, back in the days. Now they've been they've been consistent in terms of finishing second back to back to back. They've gone far in competitions, but they still haven't crossed the final hurdle. 10 years, 20 years from now, nobody will remember you for finishing second. They are going to remember you for the medals you won, for the trophies you won. Arsenal have brought in new players. They've brought in Madueke. They want to get easy. They've brought in Victor Gyökeres. Like you don't have any excuse anymore. If Arteta doesn't win a title, as a Chelsea fan, I want them to retain him because I'm happy with someone who keeps deceiving them and making them think that they are progressing. Well, they're not. Because what my worry will be with them bringing a manager who is concerned about winning a trophy. Because that's what football is all about, right? Now, Chelsea were in a rebuilding stage. Now, this is not because I'm a Chelsea fan. This is just very simple. Chelsea were in a rebuilding stage. 2022-2023 season, 2023-2024. Terrible times for me as a Chelsea fan. Always struggling, getting to this hurdle and not crossing it. We lost how many cup finals, domestic. We've lost a lot of domestic cup finals consecutively. Terrible stuff, right? And at some point, I'm like, this could be a mental barrier. Poch came in and lost to SS3 boys, Liverpool SS3 boys. And I was so angry. I was like, and you see, he wasn't even doing it as if it was something serious. I'm like, we can't do anything with this kind of manager. And then Maresca came, and we won the UEFA Conference League. Now that's this blood. These boys were able to now taste blood. So now so trophy the sweet pitch. And look at what they did at the Club World Cup. Do you get? Now they've won trophies. This is a team that went through a rebuilding stage. They've now won important trophies more than your club that is presumably consistent. If you don't see, there's nothing that beats breaking mentality like trophies. Now look at Chelsea, who were struggling all of a sudden in terms of mentality. They've won 2 trophies, and look at how the players are so confident. In fact, all they had to do was win one trophy against PSG, and look at how confident these players became. Or rather, Conference League before then, when they now played PSG, look at how confident they were. Now Arsenal, all they need right now is to win one trophy, even if it's a Carabao Cup. If Arteta can get Arsenal the Carabao Cup, the mentality of these players will change, and they'll be like, "Oh, so this is how sweet trophy can be." And you see them playing with so much vigor and hunger. That's what I feel. So if Arteta doesn't win anything this season, please, if you know what you're doing, Arsenal, let him go.
Now other teams have really improved. Chelsea looks quite good. Man City looks even better than they were last season. Liverpool is still Liverpool. They will still challenge. So it looks like it's getting harder. But has Arsenal spent enough to get to league? Well, only time will tell. We'll watch out to see just how well that pans out them in the end. All right, so that's it for the podcast today. It's been an interesting one. We've had some, major highlights in the world of sports, and I mean, the weekend will be a fun one. I feel we'll have a lot of interesting games, and very soon we'll start to other leagues like the Spanish La Liga and even the Serie A into our conversations to ensure it's as robust as possible. Remember, Madrid won their first game of the new season. Kylian Mbappe within the week, interesting game. Over the weekend, Barcelona also won. They showed just the stuff they're made of. So, bring in tidbits from there to ensure that you enjoy this sport from time to time. All right, so John Binho, your last thoughts on the weekend that we should be expecting. Just give us do you feel, especially concerning the games going down weekend
Yeah,
around the
football is back, and that's exciting. Last weekend was amazing, and it was interesting to see games. You know how the Premier League, even when two mid-table or low-tier teams are playing against themselves, you still get to enjoy the game. Game is always fun, and that's what has happened. I hope this weekend continues with that particular trend. Across the Premier League and even across La Liga as well.
All right, so what's your final take on the games going down this weekend, and just your general take on what's happening this weekend, the different games, Tottenham, Man City, and what you think we should have at the back of our minds with the leagues going down?
Yeah, week one has shown us that the leagues are back, and they're back with fire. Nobody is taking their time to settle down or settle in, and it means that you should be expecting very wonderful games. And no matter the teams that are played in the Premier League, the Premier League will always serve you, a very delicious meal. So from 12:30, just sit down in front of your TV and enjoy the games. And much later in the day, La Liga will come in. You enjoy yourself with La Liga as well. I think I like the fact that football season is back because the weekend you can use the weekend to escape from work. Right? That helps you to escape from work, and then by Monday you're going to work with a fresh perspective. That means whatever problem you're facing, because we're all adults here, and I believe we're all working here. So whatever problems you're facing, even if you're a student listening to us, whatever stress you're facing in school, by the time you get back to school or to work, you're facing that with a fresh perspective. So I expect the games to be interesting. And my pick of the bunch will be the game between Tottenham and Manchester City.
All right, that's it. Thank you so much for joining. I mean, if you're watching us, be it on Facebook, on YouTube, Instagram, or even TikTok, thank you. We appreciate that. Please do well to follow us. You can follow me at Sporting Mike on all platforms. I follow John Beanho also on all platforms too, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. And I'm sure you get much more insightful thoughts from us from time to time on different platforms. Also follow us on YouTube as we'll continue to post more of these videos via YouTube. So thank you once more for joining. We'll catch you next week. Have a splendid day.